Kia ora, no mai ki te whare. Welcome to The House, ko Louis Collins aho. At the beginning of the year, former Speaker Adrian Rurewhai called time on his parliamentary career. Because he wasn't an elected MP, the vacancy didn't trigger a by-election and Labour was entitled to bring in another candidate from its party list to replace him. A party's list is determined by how many votes it receives. In simple terms, the more party votes you get, the more MPs you're entitled to send to Parliament. So the next cab off the rank for Labour then was Hamilton-based unionist Georgie Dansey. Joining Parliament in the final 8 months or so before an election is a bit like being the new kid at school in the last term before exams. You're still figuring out what classes you're in, who you sit with, and how everything else works. Except here, the equivalents are finding out what spokesperson portfolios you have, what select committee assignments, and learning the rhythms of the debating chamber. For starters, you've got to be sworn in. You can't actually conduct any MP duties in the House until doing so.
I've received from the Electoral Commission a return declaring Georgie Dansey to be elected a Member of Parliament to fill the vacancy created by the resignation of the Right Honourable Adrian Rurewhai from his list seat. I understand that Georgie Dansey is present and wishes to make an affirmation of allegiance. Would she please come forward to the chair on my right?
Ko ahau, ko Georgie Dansey, e ki ana I runga e te pono, e te tika, e te nākau tapatahi, me te whakao anō. Ka noho pirihonga, ka noho pūmau ki a kingi taere, te tuatoru me tōna kāhui, whakahiki e ki te ture.
Then comes your first real opportunity to address the House, and by extension the country, as an MP, your maiden statement. Now, there's a bit of a formula to maiden speeches and statements. And I say speeches and statements because in parliamentary parlance, a statement refers to a maiden speech delivered after the address and reply debate at the start of a parliamentary term. But for all practical purposes, it's the same thing. Some parties have stronger expectations than others about what you should and shouldn't say in a maiden speech, but generally, you begin with your background, who you are, where you come from, and what has shaped you.
Mr. Speaker, when I was 8, we moved to Katikati at the foot of the Kaimai Ranges. School holidays were spent packing beer sticks and salamis in my stepdad Bill's venison salami small goods business. I don't remember talking about politics with my parents, but what I do remember are long conversations about the financial stability of the business. What I learnt was that owning a small business is hard and that it took constant work to keep the business afloat, support employees, while also supporting our whānau.
From there, MPs usually move into what they stand for, their values, ideologies, and the issues they want to champion. It's also usually the part of the speech that signals what kind of parliamentarian we can expect them to be.
What I have seen on the front lines of education in this country is that one size does not fit all. We need different pathways to success for our rangatahi and our tamariki. I want to see a system that supports all learners, a system that celebrates the uniqueness and gifts of our neurospicy kids, one that provides a wraparound social support for our most vulnerable, and a system that recognises creativity and the arts as a cornerstone of being human.
And then Dansey did something that not every maiden speaker chooses to do. She sharpened her tone. Maiden speeches are often generous. They tend to be heavy on gratitude and light on confrontation. But Dansey pivoted to a direct critique of the current government. It's the kind of move that reminds us that we're in election year, and Dansey seems keen to not treat her new job as a short end-of-term cameo, but the beginning of a long and fruitful career as an MP.
I am devastated that this government does not value the work that these hard-working people do by repealing fair pay agreements. Letting the market decide does not work. In a competitive industry where employers must bid for contracts, it becomes a race to the bottom for employee conditions and wages. This government has taken a range of policies and laws that have made life harder and more expensive to be a worker in New Zealand.
Most speech writing advice, whether from your high school English teacher or Toastmasters, says that you should leave an audience with something that lingers, a line that carries beyond the room or the debating chamber, something personal, something profound. Sometimes it's an anecdote, sometimes a waiata, sometimes borrowed wisdom. For Dansey, it was this whakatoki.
This whakatoki is a strong message of encouragement, urging one to be courageous, determined and persistent, never giving up in the face of adversity, no matter how difficult the struggle. As I start my journey in this house, for as long as I am privileged to be here, may I walk in the courageous footsteps of my tupuna for a fair and just society. Koe e mate whike, mate ururawa. Kia ora.
I te whakaronga koe ki te whare. You've been listening to The House, a program made with funding from Parliament's Office of the Clerk. Mātua.